Welcome to the PubHub. We are today here to present you an alternative for publishing, the publishing industry at total, we think. So we are trying to democratize the publishing process. And now one could ask, why would you bother disrupting a running industry? Why would you bother change something which is already existing? Well, having heard the talks this week, I guess none in this audience would ever ask this question, but the publishers might. So we thought it is valid to bring up the points why we think it is necessary. Today, the publishing process, especially for the researcher, is extremely painful. We have to put in a lot of effort. We have to only upload finished articles, which we think is not the right thing to do, because you want to have access to also articles which are maybe not finished yet. So you can see what other people work on and what research results are out there. So we think that especially the researchers need an easy way to publish all of their work, and everybody else needs access to all of this work. So now what we think the PubHub will do for this is we lower the barrier for people to access and upload research work. We create even the possibility to upload research results in a more or less unformatted way, just to grant people seeing what we are working on or what the researcher is working on. And we eliminate the paywall for people to access research work. So this would all be free. And that is the free and fair access to all the projects. Then the approach to this will be the platform Mark is going to show you today. And at the very end of the presentation, Sebastian is showing one secret ingredient. So let's see. The competition we thought we have to bring up because it was part of the last canvas, but obviously we think there is no competition. But stating the one who maybe thinks he is a competitor is the existing publishers. But we will push them out of the game, we think. So now let's have a look how the whole thing, oh sorry, that was too fast. Now let's have a look how the whole thing would work and looks like.
Okay, so I will take you through a quick tour of the PubHub app. Now PubHub won't just be an app, it'll be a whole API. So institutions will be free to develop their own apps. You can have desktop apps, mobile apps, Android, iOS, websites, and you can even have specialty apps if you needed to do corporate or patent research, things like that. So it'll be an open API for everyone to build upon. So you come to the app and you're at your pub, and of course you can log in or register. And if you log in, there's the bouncer at the pub asking for a username and password, but we're a new user, so we're not ready yet. So we'll go back to the main screen here, and we'll tap on register. And then when you want to register, you need to put in your name, of course, because this is going to be you as a researcher. So you type in your name, and then you need to put in an email. And of course you have to do a password, and confirm your password. And of course we need to have KYC, so we would have to have identification. Although I really like the, was it Orchid? We might want to change this piece and tie into an existing system because I really like that idea. But if we had to do the KYC, of course you need to have some piece of ID that you would link to. So you come here and you click on the camera button to launch the camera, and then you take a picture of your identity document and you snap it, and then it comes there and you make sure that you've got everything right, and you tap on finish, and then you're all loaded into the system. So then you continue on, and you start off and you're in your pub, and this is your dashboard, your sort of home page into your work and the things that are important to you. So one of the primary things is just search, because you want to look and read and keep current with everything that's going on. So that's one functionality. Then you have an activity feed. This is everything that's going on with you. So maybe this is you got reviewed by another reviewer, so it shows you what's going on, or it might suggest articles that you should review. Down here you have your projects. These would be the things that you're working on, a list of all your files and research projects. Related work would be articles that cite you or articles that might be related to the work that you're doing that maybe you should be reading. So this would be an algorithm to generate other projects that maybe you want to look into. But the first thing we'll do is we'll come over here and we'll tap on Create because we want to make our first project. So it'll bring us to a screen. We will name our project. If there are additional authors, we'll add them in here. And then you can optionally add in keywords and other metadata that help others find your research. And you pick a template for the type of project it's going to be. And you can change this later, but this helps it set everything up for you. So you might choose a template for a traditional research paper where you would have an intro, materials, and methods, and things like that. So then you would click on the next button, which wasn't there, but you come here, and then this is a view of your particular research project. And the projects all have components. So this shows on the screen components of a traditional research paper. So you have an introduction, you have methods, you have results, different sections here, and a conclusion. But all these things are sort of optional. You don't have to have them. And you can change them, you can rearrange them, you can add other ones in. So for example, maybe this isn't an original paper, maybe you're just doing confirmation work. So then you would probably just have materials and methods and results. And your materials and methods, you don't even actually have to link those because you would just be citing the piece that you're confirming. And you just have your own results, which may or may not confirm the piece that you're linking to. And we also imagine this being able to use for something we like to call microscience. So we'd like to empower undergrads, graduate students, summer interns, even high school students, anybody really, citizen scientists. So if you have a small project, you don't have to write a full-blown paper. You can just upload pieces. So within this, of course, you can add pieces, edit them, rearrange them. This is all drag and drop, so you can reorder them how you want. But this is our new project. So we're going to come into our intro, and we'll tap on the intro piece, and that brings up a detailed view there. And you can come in here and change the title. Maybe you don't want to call it intro. Maybe you want to call it introduction. And then you come here and you type in your interesting text, and you can add in other documents. Maybe you've got a PDF file or pictures that you need to put in, so you add in your various components. And that's how you build the pieces of your work. Jumping back to the main dashboard again, I wanted to show you the search feature because that's also a big part of the application. So you come here and you click on search, and that brings you to a screen where you'd have a search bar, and you would type in your terms that you're searching for. So I like coral reefs as a former marine biologist, so I did UV and coral reefs, and I type that in, and I get a list of articles, and I can scroll through the articles. Ignore the fading out there, that's just Google Slides. And I find an article that interests me because, oh, look, hey, I wrote it. And, and I tap on it, and that will bring the article up, and it has the entire article here, starting with the title and the different sections. And of course, you can scroll through it to read the entire article. And if there's a particular section that I'm interested in, it might be a specific result, it might be the methods, it might be the discussion that I wish to refer to. All of this will have interactive buttons so that we can do things with this article that we're reading. So for example, I tap on this little plus button here, and this might give me the option to cite this particular component of the research, or I can add my own review to this. But jumping back here to the pub, I just wanted to go over the big functionality. So the main pieces are search, an activity feed of things that have happened to you on the platform, whether it was giving a review or receiving a review or being cited or citing something else. You have your projects, and then you have related work, which is just sort of algorithmically generated articles that might be of interest to you without you having to necessarily search for them. And then at this point, I will turn it over to Sebastian to talk about how this is built on blockchain.
Cool. Thank you, Mark. So we were asked yesterday, like, how does blockchain fit in? So we wanted to answer that actually today. And it appears a little bit that blockchain is a solution that is looking for a problem, which might not actually be a thing. But maybe some of you have heard that we mentioned also APIs, right, and make something publicly accessible. The idea here is to make something as publicly accessible as somehow possible. So the traditional way is you say it's open source, right? This is good, the application is open source, but that's not the value. The value is in the data and in all these papers that are out there or the micro research that's done. So if we make that open, like we say we have an open API, and open API is actually a really, really nasty thing. So as some developers had a little bit of what the fuck moment last year when they worked on APIs. And for example, there's Twitter. And Twitter decided last year that they restrict their API to run 100 requests a month. Right? So you can do 100 searches per month, and everything beyond that, they will charge you a leg and an arm. So that is an example that APIs are actually totally not open, and usually there's a server there, you have to talk to the server, and maybe we change in a year from now, we say, hey, you know, this thing is going to cost you like $1 million a year. And that's an example of a closed system. So what we would like to have is this system to be as open that, yes, we have an open source API, but the data behind it is also open, right? So you can use a different API if you really feel to. And how do you make that happen? You make that happen by open infrastructure. So we have blockchain and decentralized storage. So what we build on is basically an identity system. So it's a decentralized identity system. We might connect it to Orchid or some other systems, or actually connect to some open blockchain-based systems. So there is Uport, which was last year showcased in the city of Zug, where the city of Zug is basically attesting that you're living there, right? That's one very simple attestation that you could do. The next thing is that these submissions should be open for anyone. So you're not tied to specific institutions. You're, in fact, actually not tied to peer review, right? So peer review is an optional thing that you can do, but you don't have to do. Stuff is on there, similar to what physicists do in arXiv. You upload something, there will be at some point a transparent peer review process, but that's the second step. So the importance of the peer review for us was it is transparent. So we see the references on blockchain. So we don't have the entire content on the blockchain, but we have references in form of hashes of documents. And this means that I cannot kind of ignore some review that I got from whoever it is. It is going to be transparently visible. If you want to show it, maybe there's some high school students that just type lol to your research, right? So maybe you just decide if you have an implementation of this platform for universities to not show reviews from high school students, right? But it is an open system that is transparent. And in the end, there's not just reviews, there's also citations, and these citations should be trackable, auditable, right? So if we build our entire reputation on importance, then this should be open. So we use blockchain to create these links. We have documents, the document is stored off-chain, for example, in a system like IPFS. And what we also thought here is that it could be, I mean, we want to connect to universities. So what role do universities and libraries have here? And we think that they could be storage providers. So the actual content, which will not be on-chain, could be hosted by universities. So it's a bring your own storage provider system. And yeah, that's how we think this system could revolutionize the publication field by being decentralized, open for literally anyone, and changing our paper-based system into a more micro-commit-based system where you can publish results and have much lower barriers for entries, also for important work like confirmation or verification of results. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.